The Dharma, incomparably profound and exquisite, is rarely met with even in hundreds of thousands of millions of kalpas. We now can see it, hear it, accept and hold it. May we realize the true mind of the Tathagata. Today is the seventh and final day of this second in a row 7-day sesshin here at Mountain Gate in northern New Mexico in April 2022. It is April 17th today, and spring is coming along in jerks, and sometimes it's 20 degrees in the morning, and sometimes it's 47 degrees in the morning, and sometimes it goes up to 62 as it is right now. Sometimes it only goes up to 38. It's an adventure, as life is. But what is life? This is the most profound question a human being can ask. What is life? And who am I? And what am I doing here? And what is the purpose? It's important to search for these answers, but they cannot be searched for in words. They are searched for through a different way of understanding, of knowing. And this is what is known in all the major religions, whether it's prayer in Christianity or in Judaism or in Islam, whether it is meditation in Buddhism, whether it is sitting silently open to when awareness could come forth with an answer. In many other religions, such as Native Americans, whatever it is a common source. This font of information, this whatever we want to call it, whether we call it God, Buddha nature, Allah, Yahweh, the Great Spirit, it doesn't matter what the name is, because the name is not what it is. It is beyond words. And Rumi and other mystical poets have spoken in metaphor about this. And I'd like to share some poems by Rumi, Jalaluddin Rumi, the 13th century Sufi mystic, that is quite inspiring to me, and hopefully it will be to you as well, if I can get the Kindle working. And I'd like to share with you some of the poems. Let's see where we are here. Here's one that Coleman Barks, who's the translator of these, has titled A Trace. You that give new life to this planet, you that transcend logic, come. I am only an arrow. Fill your bow with me and let it fly. Because of this love for you, my bowl has fallen from the roof. Put down a ladder and collect the pieces, please. People ask, but which roof is your roof? I answer, wherever the soul goes at night, my roof is in that direction. From wherever spring arrives to heal the ground, wherever searching arises from in the human being. Remember, the looking itself is a trace of what we're looking for. But we've been more like the man who sat on his donkey and asked the donkey where to go. Be quiet now and wait. It may be that the ocean one we desire so to move into and become desires us out on land a little bit longer, going our sundry roads to the shore. We yearn to be free. We yearn to return to whatever you want to name it, that which is beyond name. And we go through sesshin, and we try and we try and we try and we try and work hard at focusing our mind, work hard at letting go by seeing where we're caught and tuning in to the felt sense of that in our bodies. And still, no lightning strike, no rainbows, no thunderclaps, no euphoria. In time, there is a time that is right. And all the work that is done within in reaching that time is absolutely vital. This is something that we don't understand. We human beings, particularly those of us who are adept at life, are accustomed to taking on a challenge and mastering it and receiving a reward. That's been taught to us since birth. We get praise from our parents for doing things that our parents feel are appropriate. And a child smiles for the first time. Oh, look at that wonderful smile. Oh, and then you smile back at this baby. And baby is reinforced in the positive experience of smiling. And it goes on from there. And then our schooling teaches us that there is a goal, there is a process to the goal, and that if we take the right steps and use the right effort and have the right brains, we'll reach the goal and we'll succeed. And to a certain degree, that is accurate, at least in civilization. But there's a whole other aspect of our livingness that is missed in that process. When the Native Americans tell their 3-year-olds at that age, when the little kid is saying, why? Why is the sky blue? Why? And they say, go into the forest and be really, really quiet. And the trees and the bushes will give you the answer. And that's where Einstein went. Not necessarily in the forest. I think he was sitting outside in a chair in the sun. But he did the same thing. Inwardly, he went deep beyond thought. And up came those amazing discoveries that he's credited for. It is from that place that has no measure, it has no markings, that we are awakened. And it is quite an amazingly vast area of our ability to perceive. Jacques Lucéran, the one who was blinded in a grade school accident in Germany. No, in France, sorry. Germany is where he ended up, in Buchenwald. But in France, somehow able, when he was deeply quiet, to discern his surroundings in great detail. He could tell you there's a wall over there and it's such and such a height, and it's this far away. There's a tree in the other direction, and it's this tall. He also discovered very early into his blindness that if he felt any anger, jealousy, upsetness, suddenly he was bumping into everything. The ability to discern everything and where it was and how to move disappeared, went underground, hidden underneath the debris of greed, anger, and delusion. And that's really a metaphor for us as well, because this that we seek, whether we want to call it awakening in God's presence, whether we want to call it opening to our true nature, it doesn't matter what we call it, because, as I said, what we call it is not what it is. We have to go deep within. We have to let go the places that blind us from comprehending it. And this is the challenge of our Zazen, because in our Zazen, we become increasingly aware of, shall we say, our warts, our places where we're caught in behavior we don't necessarily admire, feelings we're not happy about, thoughts we are horrified to feel that we think, and so on. But opening to all of these allows us to, if we work with them correctly, which means tuning in how it feels in our body. When you feel yourself wanting to have something ahead of somebody else, when you're wanting to, whatever, when you're feeling angry, any of the things that come up for people. If we go into our body and feel what that feels like, that energy, and experience it simply as the energy that it begins as, then we are suddenly freed of being caught in whatever that emotion, that thought, that caught place is. And little by little, these things begin to clear our vision in a most wonderful way. And as we completely, increasingly sink into the present moment simply as it feels, without having an overlay of inner talk about it, we get closer to what we're looking for. And Rumi has spoken many times of this. And this is actually part of what he's saying in this next poem that I will share with you. But recognize, too, that all this work is not for naught. All this work is opening us, is providing the basis, the ground, to live fully from what we yearn to open to. And here's one that Coleman Barks titles, Creator of Absence and Presence. Mevlana, which is Rumi, was asked about a passage from the Masnavi. Brother, you are that thought. Your bones and nerves are something else. He said, consider this. The word thought must be expanded to mean essence, or it doesn't apply to what I'm saying there. Everything that gets exchanged between people, whether it's spoken or not, is a form of such thought. Human beings are discourse. The rest is blood and bone and nerves. Call it speech, that flowing between us. Compare it to the sun, which is always warming us, even when we can't see it. The speech sun is invisible, except when it takes form in language. God is extremely subtle, until these gross bodies make that apparent. There was a certain man who said that the word God meant nothing to him. Then someone began pointing to the actions of God, and he saw. There are people who can't eat honey unless it's mixed with rice and turmeric. This speech I'm describing is continuous, like the sun's light and heat. Usually we require a medium to enjoy it, but there are ways of understanding without forms, an ocean of subtlety full of miraculous beings and new colors. This is within each one of us and can be opened to. It is ongoing. Some are more aware and sensitive to this than others. But when you train yourself to feel what is going on in your body, the sensations, the energy in your body, you're getting closer. Philosophers claim man is the speaking animal. And just as your animality is always there with you, so the speaking is constantly there. Human beings live in three spiritual states. In the first, we pay no attention to God. We notice only the stones and the dirt of the world, the wealth, the children, the men and women. In the second, we do nothing but worship God. In the third, the most advanced state, we become silent. We don't say, I serve God, or I don't serve. We know that God is beyond being present or absent, the creator of absence and presence. And other than both, these opposites that generate each other are not qualities of God. There are no likenesses. God did not create God. When you reach this point, stop. At the edge of the ocean, footprints disappear. Language, science, and all human skills derive their relish from this speech. This flowing exchange gives flavor to every event. Like the man courting the wealthy woman who owns large flocks of sheep and many horses in great orchards. He tends them, he waters the fruit trees, and looks after the horses. But all the while he's thinking of the woman. If she were suddenly not there, his work would be distasteful and boring. Like that, everything that happens is filled with pleasure and warmth because of the delight of the discourse always going on. And if it weren't moving there, nothing would have any meaning. And here's one called Omar and the Poet. The poet has grown old. His voice is choked, sounding, and harsh, and some of his harp strings are broken. Poetry that once refreshed the soul now is of no use to anyone. The sound adored by Venus became a faint braying from an old donkey. What found the falcon's prey now catches gnats. All fair things decay. What roof has not fallen to be this where we walk? Only the inward voice heard in the chest does not fade. Only the inward voice in the chest does not fade. Only that amber continually draws to it with steady strength all thought and every art. So this poet had grown feeble and also poor because no one wants to hear him anymore. He goes to the graveyard at Medina and prays, "Lord, you always accept counterfeit coins from me. Take these prayers again and give me enough to buy new silk strings for my harp." He speaks a few lines with the strings remaining. For 70 years I've been forgetful, but not for a moment has this flowing toward me slowed or stopped. I deserve nothing. I am the guest the mystics talk about. I pray this living music for my host. Everything today is for the host. Then he puts the instrument down for a pillow and goes to sleep. The bird of his soul escapes, free of the body and the grieving, flying in the vast simple region that is itself, where it can sing its truth. I love this having no head, this tasting without mouth, this memory without regret. How without hands I gather rose and basil on an infinitely stretching out plain that is my joy. So this waterbird plunges in its ocean, Job's fountain, where Job is healed of all affliction, the pure sunrise. If this Masnavi were suddenly sky, it could not hold half the mystery this poet enjoys in sleep. If there were a clear way into that, no one would stay here. Meanwhile, the Caliph Omar, napping nearby, a voice comes. Give 700 gold dinars to the man sleeping in the cemetery. Everyone understands this voice when it arrives. It speaks with the same authority to Turk and Kurd, Persian, Arab, Ethiopian, one language. And this is the voice you can hear when you are let go enough of your ideas about self and other, who you are, or who you think you are, and all the rest. It is a voice that is silent and it is coming from the heart. And if you are truly let go, it is absolutely accurate. Omar runs to the graveyard to do as the voice says, but no one's there except the old man asleep. Surely not God's favorite. Omar prowls the place like a lion after prey, finding nothing. Well, it must be that ragged vagrant. This hidden heart is a mystery. Omar sits down beside him and sneezes. The wanderer jumps up, thinking the great man is there to accuse him. No, sit here. I have a secret to tell you. There's gold enough in this sack to buy new silk strings for your harp. Take it, buy them, and come back here. The old poet hears and feels the generosity that has now become visible. He weeps in his life, then throws the harp on the ground and breaks it. No one knows the value of any particular day. These songs, breath by breath, have kept me minding the musical modes of Iraq and the rhythms of Persia, the minor Zirafragand, the liquid freshness of the 24 modes. These have distracted me while caravan after caravan was leaving. My poems have kept me in myself, which was your greatest gift to me, that now I surrender back. When someone is counting out gold for you, don't look at your hands or the gold, look at the giver. But even this wailing, self-recrimination, says Omar, is just another shape for enclosure, another joint on the reed. Remembering the past and anticipating the future puts you in a cylinder segment of time. Pierce the segments and be hollow with perforated walls so flute music can happen. Let God's breathing flow in and through. Don't be a searcher wrapped in the importance of his quest. Repent of your repenting. The man's heart wakes, no longer in love with treble and bass. Without weeping or laughter, his animal soul drains away. This other soul begins to live. In a true bewilderment, he goes out beyond any seeking, beyond words and telling, drowned in the beauty, drowned beyond deliverance. Waves cover the old man, nothing more can be said of him. He has shaken out his robe and there's nothing in it anymore. There is a chase where a falcon dives into the forest and doesn't come back up. Every moment the sunlight is totally empty and totally full. This world, like an old poet, gets freshened with soul water and light rising new with the sun. This variegated, diffuse, and musical weather no one could imagine except in sleep. And then probably the last one. This is called Pebbles zikr. A zikr, by the way, those who don't know of it, is a spiritual practice in Islam, calling the names of God. Abu Jahl has some pebbles in his hand. Muhammad, quick, tell me what I have hidden in my fist. You say that you're the messenger of God, who knows all mysteries. Solve this. How do you want me to do it? By saying what they are? Or shall they say what I am? Abu Jahl is puzzled. The latter sounds more interesting. And immediately from inside the fist come the voices of the round stones chanting the zikr. La ilaha Allah. There is no reality but God. There is only God. La ilaha illallah. Every pebble threads the pearl. Abu Jahl, the skeptic, throws him down. There is no reality but God. But we try to find it outside of ourselves. Sink deep into the inner silence and find it there. Find it in the sunlight. Find it in the sound of the truck on the highway. Find it in Boo's attempt to mimic the wild dogs out there. His deep voice doesn't quite make it. They're much more trouble. It is right here now, but it's not a thing that you can grasp with your hands or capture with sound or verse or sight or words, but it is real. And you are it. And the more you let go of who you think you are, like the old poet, the more you will realize that you have never, not ever been that. As we move to a close of this session, it's not yet by any means, it's still several hours away. And everyone has worked very hard in this sesshin and hopefully will continue to do so and far beyond the sesshin, because it is this ongoing opening, this ongoing being challenged by where we're caught and tuning in, and somehow through that process becoming less caught by it. That eventually we reach a point where we are let go enough that that sunlight can come streaming into our consciousness, and we will awake to the presence of God, if you want to put it in Christian terms. Again, it matters nothing what we call it, because whatever we would try to call it is not what it is. Yet it is alive here now, and it can be realized. Thank you for listening. We'll stop now and recite the 4 vows. Shujo muhen segando bono mujin segandan homon muryo segangaku butsudo mujo seganjo Shujo muhen segando bono mujin segandan homon muryo segangaku butsudo mujo seganjo shujo muhen segando bono mujin segandan homon muryo segangaku butsudo mujo seganjo. Sentient beings are numberless. I vow to liberate them. Clinging is inexhaustible. I vow to put an end to it. Dharma gates are boundless. I vow to master them. The way of liberation is unsurpassable. I vow to become it. And again, a clarification. Sentient beings are numberless. This is the places we're caught in our own head. This is our habit patterns, our unwitting greed, anger, and delusion played out. It's releasing those, letting go of those, liberating those from our own being, so we're no longer caught in them. That's what that vow means. Okay, we still have about 26 minutes left in this.
It's still recording.
Hmm?
It's still recording.
Oh, well, we could stop the recording. Thank you.